Yes, yes, rejoice, Chameleon Bros, your captain is coming, and I guess the Butchers of Kalkengard too, who are in fact on the other side here. This replay submitted by a viewer, Lizardmen versus Beastmen. I thought it was very appropriate. They actually sent this to me yesterday, not knowing that, of course, this is the next DLC, the last DLC, the final push for Total War Warhammer 2, Lizardmen versus Beastmen, so the animal people are going to be facing off in a DLC. Of course, Oxyotl, the kind of legendary chameleon skink, who honestly, I was not really super excited when I first saw that he was going to be the legendary lord. I'm like, oh, it's a chameleon skink. But then I actually read his lore, and that chameleon is an absolute unit. Literally got sent to the Chaos Realm, managed to survive and get back. So that's pretty cool. Up against the Brass Bull, of course, legendary Doom Bull. So the Butchers of Kalkengard, Double Gore Bull here are going to get their legendary lord as well. This is no caster, Morgur's Shadow game. Normally wouldn't cast a no caster game, but this is just so appropriate for today. I couldn't not cast it. We've got some Ungor Spears up front, Destroyers of Drakewald in the center, some Razorgore Herds, Ungor Raiders, Spearman Herds, whole line of Skink Cohort. We've got Red Crest, 2 Red Crests, a couple Sacred Crocs, Gor's Nakai, the Wanderer, and it looks like Ark of Sotek and a Rev Crystal. The Chameleons, of course. So let's get to the main portion of the battle. Yeah, not a lot of information again, which is why I decided not to make a video about the DLC update itself, but of course you saw in the cold open, definitely very, very hyped for it. I have not played it yet, I can say that. I will tell you guys once I can, you know, once I have played it and when I'm going to be having my videos scheduled and everything else, but Double Gorble just charging straight into the Red Crest. That's going to pull the Sacred Croxies and the Nakai and everything else. Wiston's Wild Form for extra armor here. I mean, armor piercing on the Beastman units, but extra weapon strength as well. Pan's Pelt. So stacking the physical resistance here of Pan's Pelt with the Primal Roar going up 22% physical resistance, an extra 40 melee attack as well. So a big old buff bomb right in the center. That's going to be a rough time for Gorble, but the Butchers of Kalkengard are incoming for support. Plenty of Ungor Raider fire as well. Rear charge from some Ungor Spearmen routes those Red Crests. They get terrified very quickly. Must have popped the Axe of Man here on somebody. I mean, I guess Butchers of Kalkengard do terror. That's right. I always forget about that. Sacred Croc scores getting punched pretty hard too, so Lizardmen leadership is having a hard time. Sneck drop does get dropped here. Not really hitting too many Beastman units at the moment, but at the very least providing a kind of safe space for the Lizardmen. A lot of the skinks get crumped though. Over here, the Chameleons getting ridden down by Razorgore Herds. Yeah, and kind of going back to the DLC discussion a little bit as this big old melee brawl ensues. I personally am a big fan of the choices. I know Creative Assembly's in a tough position because there are so many things that they could add, and people have made all sorts of videos and kind of set expectations on, you know, posts on Reddit and in the forums that it's for sure going to be so-and-so. I know, it has to be so-and-so, you know, and then it ends up not being the person that they wanted. For me personally, again, Oxyotl, when I saw it was him at first, I was like, yeah, that's alright. But reading up on his lore, he definitely seems like an OG. And it'll be interesting to see how his mechanics work. Of course, we don't have really anything right now. I do believe they released something small on the Steam page for campaign mechanics, and the Brass Bull, Taurox, is going to have a campaign mechanic where you can essentially keep going if you're winning battles, sort of like, I believe, Lu Bu in Three Kingdoms, which I probably shouldn't even mention right now, but it was a thing. Oh, it's a Gorbel gets absolutely slaughtered there by Nakai and the Cold One Riders. Very good stuff, but overall this engagement not looking great for the Croxies. But anyway, yeah, so he can kind of like keep going if you keep winning battles. I really like that kind of unique, different campaign mechanic. It definitely offers different play styles, and for people who are very, good or choose to play the campaign in a certain way where it makes it quite a bit easier. Yeah, they can potentially go for like speed runs and different achievements and tricks and things. So that's always nice to see. Oxyotl also is going to have like a teleportation mechanic, as we saw with Twisted and Twilight for the Wood Elves, and some other things going on there. So it definitely seems like they are sort of trialing out some more things potentially for Game 3. I really, really hope that in the big quote-unquote Immortal Empires map of Game 3 that we get some kind of teleportation. But anyway, back to the battle at hand here. Very pitched. Cold One Riders up against Razor Gords, just absolutely murdering each other. This Gorbel comes back, is going to turn that fight around for the Beastmen. In the center, Butchers of Kalkengard still holding against the Croxies. The spear support ended up kind of getting collapsed a little bit by Skinks there. Butchers are, there's what, one of them left? Yeah, one of them left. He might get taken down here. So the Sacred Croxies do hold for the time being. Morgar must have got his spawn summons off already while I was running my mouth, but plenty of Ungor Raiders still alive, still have quite a bit of ammunition left as well, so Lizardmen without too much counterpunch here. Obviously just running the Bastildons out there and trying to absorb as much of the fire as possible could be potentially good. We've also got the Skink Priest here, but Beastmen are in a little bit of danger of hitting army losses. They don't have any characters left besides Morgar. Morgar's tanking relatively well, but it seems like the Ungor Raiders, a little bit of a micro mistake here, just staying focused on those Skink cohort. They definitely need to be, saturating this center area here, going after the Sacred Croxies, going after the Bastillodons. And as they do not do so, will be tough for them. Very interested to see what units come with the DLC. I didn't really see too much. There was, like a potential new Chameleon Skink unit that we, new Chameleon Skink unit, rather, that we saw alongside Oxyotl. Ungor Raiders running in here, making one final push. The Terror will definitely be an issue for them as Miasma of Despair gets dropped here to drop their leadership and kick in the Terror. So, yeah, I believe, I saw Italian Spartacus pointed out in his video, he thinks he may have spotted, what is that, a Quaddle or whatever it's called? I forget. Some kind of flying monster thing. I didn't really look too much at it, to be honest. Didn't have a ton of time, but yeah, and like if you look in the artwork they released as well that shows like Oxyotl and Taurox, there's another sort of Minotaur. I don't know, it might be a Doom Bowl, honestly, like a Lord level Minotaur that's kind of standing behind him. So some hints of some new units. No full roster reveal yet, which a little bit interesting that we haven't had a roster reveal for. This DLC, granted, they did announce quite early, so I'm not necessarily expecting anything anytime soon. Like, honestly, they announced it very early, but I find it a little curious that, like, with the Khorne stuff and with the Kislev stuff especially, I thought for sure we would have seen a Kislev roster reveal by now when they were making the big push, with all the videos and stuff about Kislev, but for whatever reason, we have not seen that materialized yet, nor for the Khorne stuff. And yeah, for Beastmen, the Lizardmen makes a little bit more sense, but we'll definitely stay tuned. And like I said, as soon as I get access to it and have the ability to show it to you guys, even share when those videos will be, I will definitely let you know. But right now, I have not even had the opportunity to touch it yet. So definitely very excited though. Beastmen in long need of an update, so I'm also looking forward to what they're doing for the overall faction update. I don't think we've heard anything whatsoever about that yet, so definitely looking forward to that. But anyway, back to the battle at hand here. Nakai putting in some pretty decent work, helping support his Sacred Croxies, who also get some very nice value. Bastildon with the Arc of Sotek here doesn't quite pay for itself on damage, but pretty close. Cold One Riders getting some key engagements, although they don't quite pay for themselves either. Chameleon Skinks doing a reasonable job. Funny, Chameleon Skinks are one of the strongest / most annoying units in the game. I made a little post on Twitter just asking, like, hey, what's the most annoying unit in Total War Warhammer? And several people responded Chameleon Skinks. So, yeah, Red Crests also do pretty decently here on the Beastman side. You definitely would want to cast him normally, but that's okay. Maybe he's a Dwarf main or something. Ungor Spears generally trade very cost effectively. They're, like I often say, one of the best low tier spears. Ungor Raiders also a very strong unit here. The Pigs, kind of a mixed bag. Some of them pay for themselves decently, but a little bit more than, less than what you'd want, rather. Same thing with the Butchers and for the Gorbals. Like, they do all right, but it's not quite enough. Morgr also kind of just getting pounded there, which is fine. It's fine. Morgr is, yeah, hopefully not going to be the meta anymore. But, yeah, that wasn't really necessarily a unit highlight or anything about that. Specifically, just talking about these two factions. Lizardmen as a faction already have quite a bit of stuff, but they're in an interesting place to where, like, often their strongest builds involve primarily just vanilla units. Like, there's a few Regiments of Renown and specific units that are good, like Red Crests are okay in the right situation. They're kind of skirmish cav, quote-unquote, is okay in the right situation, right? Like, Rippers are very squishy. You can do a lot of damage. Same thing with the Ancient Salamander, but, like, you really have to be used appropriately, whereas a lot of their kind of basic, very strong units, you know, your Saurus Warriors, Chameleon Skinks, Skinks with Jabs, are all vanilla, right? Like, Dread Saurian's very big, very cool, but not actually super competitive right now, whereas Pterodon Riders absolutely are, and they come with the base game, right? So, really hoping that for the Lizardmen at least, their DLC units, you know, I don't want them to be pay to win necessarily. Obviously, that's not a good thing, but I do want them to be at least viable in multiplayer, to where they, you know, I would argue a lot of their DLC units are viable, they're just not optimal, I guess, if that's... I would like for some of their new tools to be optimal picks in certain situations, but we'll see kind of what they do. Beastmen definitely have the opportunity to have a lot more added, so I am expecting, you know, like what we saw with the Wood Elves, potentially some extra characters or other things coming in with the Beastmen as well. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I really can't speak too much as to my level of hype on the DLC. Like, yes, I'm glad they finally announced it. I'm glad officially confirmed Beastmen are getting an update. Lizardmen are also getting an update, hopefully at least a small one as well. They honestly, a lot of the Lizardmen stuff, their previous DLCs have not been the best on release, let's say, and could still do with some improvements. So I'm really hoping they go back and, if not now, at least at some point, kind of look at those things again. But anyway, in terms of mechanics, I'm expecting Oxyotl to be more or less like a legendary Skink Chief with no mount options, similar to some of the other legendary ranged heroes, like, for example, Elithanar or Marcus Wolfheart for the Empire. In the trailer, we didn't see him with any mount options, so and kind of based on what I read up on the tabletop, he didn't have any mount options, so I'm expecting him just be a foot-only lord. Probably will have very strong stock ability and potentially snipe as well. We'll have to kind of wait and see. Probably poison. We'll see if they actually do a rework to poison. I know a lot of people have been calling for it, or maybe a upgraded poison. I mean, in his little bio, it literally said he gets... Some of his poisons are sourced from ingredients he obtained in the Chaos Wastes, which is like, okay, probably better than your standard poison. So we'll have to kind of wait and see on that. As far as Doom Bull goes, I would expect him to... Or, sorry, not Doom Bull. Although if we do get a Doom Bull, it'll be kind of in between, right? We'll have a lower level Gorbal, and then the Brass Bull. I don't really know totally his ability set and everything, but just expecting him to be a very strong combatant, you know, like a top tier of melee combatant, hopefully. I mean, hopefully he's not on the level of, like, Nikai. Sorry, Nikai, you're cool, but... I'm hoping Doom Bull potentially is like anti-large, at least, or, you know, just has like true, like top-tier monster mash prowess, right? Because Kazarak's a decent combatant, more charge-oriented on his chariot than anything, and that's his only mount, so you really don't have a monster lord for Beastmen, and I'm really hoping that the Taurox can fill that role for them, so... Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification every time I upload a new video. You'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.